So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. My name is Nahumi. I'm a Principal Solution Architect at Dell EMC XtremIO, and today I'm going to cover you this topic, why XtremIO is the ideal platform for virtualized workloads. We have 15 minutes, so let's start. So let's cover quickly the XtremIO functionality, and then we'll deep dive for each and every aspect of the product. So first of all, XtremIO is a product that's built from ground up in order to be the best all-flash array for a mixed virtualized workload. So XtremIO X-Brick, it consists of 2 active storing controllers and 1 DAE. And XtremIO supports both scale up and scale out. This allows us to provide consistent and predictable performance, which means that you can start with a single brick with 2 active storage controllers with 18 drives, and then if you need more capacity, you can scale up by adding more disks by packs of 6 up to 72 drives. If you need more performance, so you can add more X bricks, and you can add up to 4 X bricks for X2 and up to 8 X bricks for X1. In addition to that, copy data management. So as part of the CAS architecture, XtremIO unique snapshots are instantaneous, and they have the same performance as the original volume, which means that they're really good for test and dev purposes, as well as backup and restore. In addition to that, our data services, so fin provisioning, deduplication, compression, our flash protection, encryption, they are all done inline. So it means that there's no post or background process. As soon as the I/O is written to the storage array, we calculate all of these data services. Other than that, application and ecosystem, so we have a large amount of plugins. All of them are free with most of the customer solutions. You can integrate them in with your applications, and by that do a lot of storage operation directly from the customer software. So for example, we have a large amount of VMware plugins, and I will try to cover them with this slide. So as I mentioned before, with the release of 6.2, XtremIO 6.2, we've released the support for 3.8 disks, which means that with a single brick, you can have up to 230 terabytes. And if you need more capacity, so you can aggregate up to 4 X bricks under the same cluster, which means 8 active storage controllers with a capacity of 1 petabyte raw capacity and up to 5 petabyte of effective capacity if we take the DRR into account. And basically, when we take a look at the majority of the all-flash arrays, so most of them are dual controller architecture, and they all have the scale-up option. So you can start. We start with a known performance, but then if one of the storage controllers runs out of physical memory, then there is a stage called destaging, when we try to offload the metadata, the DNA of the data, into the SSD drives. And it doesn't matter if it's SSD or NVMe, memory is the fastest media ever, and in these stages, we start to see performance degradation and increase in the latency. Of course, with XtremIO is not the case. XtremIO supports scale out, and one of the unique capabilities and features of XtremIO is that all the metadata, all the DNA of the data reside inside the storage controllers, which means that all the operations, the calculation of the data are done at the memory level and shared between all available storage controllers in the system, which means that even if your host is not connected to that specific storage controller, it still can access the memory, the DNA of the data from another controller, because they all share the memory and the performance between them via RDMA, Remote Direct Memory Access Protocol. And this allows us to provide the consistent and predictable performance no matter what scale. VAAI, the ability, XCOPY, the ability to clone, to offload the cloning operation from the E6i host level to the storage level. So how it does with a conventional storage, basically brute force operation that move the burden, move the problem from the E6i host to the storage side. And here we can see the example how we've implemented XCOPY with XtremIO. So basically, since XtremIO is content aware of the metadata of the data, so basically when we clone a virtual machine, it doesn't matter if we clone 1 VM, 2 VM, or 1,000 virtual machines, they're all done in memory, and by that we can provide instanced VM copies, and since these are only metadata operations, so no storage I/O or capacity overhead are involved. And if you don't know, the VM labs, for example, the VMware labs reside on top of XtremIO, because they need this instantaneous destroying and deploying of virtual machines multiple times a day. And for example, from tests that I've did, we've managed to deploy a full Horizon pool of 4,000 virtual desktop, Windows 10 full virtual desktops in less than 1.5 hours, including the sysprep and the multiple reboots, up and running full 1,000 virtual desktops. If we take a look at our Xtremio Copy Services, which known as XVC, so as I mentioned, in terms of performance, so read and write IOPS and latency, they have the same performance as the original volume. And since these snapshots are done at the memory level or the storage controller, so there's no metadata bloat or space reservation, because there are no moving blocks between the original volume and the snapshot. And as a result, there is an instant creation, immediate deletion of the snapshot, so there's no performance overhead when you take or delete a snapshot. Other than that, you can integrate these snapshots with your applications, whether it's vSphere, Citrix, OpenStack, and so on and so forth. And we will see some of the demos here. So for example, here we can see that we can take snapshots for test and dev purposes or for analytics, and we can use them all on the same storage array, and by that save a lot of performance and capacity. Our plugin for vSphere, it's called VSI, free plugin developed by the Dell EMC team, and if you don't have it already, you can download it. It's an OVA file, and you can easily integrate it with your vCenter and Xtremio cluster. So what we can do with this plugin, we can provision new data stores or extend existing ones. Instead of going to the XMS, create the LANs, map them to the relevant ESXi host, rescan, and so on and so forth. Really, really easy and simple. Monitor Xtremio data stores in terms of capacity and DRR per volume, logical and physical size. Schedule space reclamation. So for those who are not familiar with space reclamation, this is another SCSI, VAAI SCSI command, which allows to return back the storage when you delete a virtual machine from a data store, or even when you delete, for example, a file within a Windows virtual machine. So the OS will automatically send this unmap command in order to free space for both the data store and the array level. We can take snapshots directly for VMFS data stores, and the most important thing is apply best practices with one click. So this is the VSI 8, this is how it looks, and what we did, basically we built it from ground up. It's HTML5 based, and we saw that VMware is moving toward the HTML5 version, and they are going to deprecate the Java-based version soon. So what we did is we built this, and we are going to announce this version soon. As you can see here, for example, we have a lot of best practices that talks about the HBA, the path selection policy, round robin, things like that. So instead of going to the host configuration guide and apply these best practices one by one using parse CLI or ESX CLI commands, you can select your cluster, select your array type, whether it's XtremIO, VMAX, Unity, and with a few simple clicks, we saw from the field that we've managed to increase performance between 20 and 30%. Another really strong functionality of XtremIO, XtremIO has full REST API, which means that you can automate, orchestrate, and provision almost every component of XtremIO, whether you use Python or parse CLI or PowerShell. So you can integrate XtremIO components in order to create automation and workflow. And as you know, the whole world is moving toward automation. So with this full REST API, you can use it. vRealize orchestrator, the VMware orchestrator tool from VMware. Basically, it's free, and we've announced the latest version of our XtremIO plugin, which supports the latest version of XtremIO 6.2, which we've released 1 month ago. And by that, basically, we can create workflows. We have a lot of actions, for example, create new data stores, take snapshots for test and backup or test and dev purposes. Really, really easy, and you can integrate it with a lot of tasks, and also import these tasks to vRealize, and by that create fully automated self-service portal. So as I've mentioned before, from tests that we've did, 4,000 virtual desktop in 4U. We validated at every stage of the desktop lifecycle, so including redeploying, recomposing the desktops. Really, really excellent performance for VDI desktops. Very important tool, the ESA plugin, EMC Storage Analytics, the VROps adapter, also free. You can download it, and by that you will have a lot of XtremIO dashboards. You will have a lot of XtremIO super metrics, and one of the strongest abilities of vRops is basically to study your environment, and by that alert you of abnormal behaviors of your infrastructure. So now, if there is increase in latency or bandwidth, you will get alert for this one as well. As I mentioned, so in order to complete the business continuity, so you have multiple options. So inside a data center, you can protect your data stores and virtual machines with XtremIO virtual copies. Inside a data center, out of the brick, you can use data domain, and across the data center, you can use multiple Dell EMC products, vPlex, Recover Point, and the latest announced native replication, which we've announced in Dell World in Vegas. And by that, this is the most advanced replication today for storage array. Basically, we replicate only the unique metadata between the different storage arrays of the source and the target, and we can save a lot of traffic, and this allows us very, very fast replication. And when I talk about fast replication, so from tests that I've made, we've managed to fail over via Site Recovery Manager a full site of 200 data store and 2,000 virtual machines in less than 30 minutes, which is pretty impressive. Last thing, as part of my role, I'm responsible for developing, writing, and designing these solutions. Most of them are relevant to vSphere, so Horizon, for example, Citrix on top of E6 host, VDI, Site Recovery Manager, and so on and so forth. So you have a lot of best practices and really important information about the integration and the capabilities of XtremIO in conjunction with these solutions. And that's it. I hope you find it useful. If you have any question, feel free to ask.